What's up, cooks? It's Wednesday. Yay, it's Wednesday. I'm feeling better. I was out last week because I wasn't feeling that great, but Eric took over for me. Thank you, Eric.
Sure.
So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite cookbook authors and a little set of used books that I got that he edited. I got them a couple months ago and I'm ready to get them out and see what they have to offer. So what's up? It's Wednesday. So how are you doing? I hope you're having a great week. I was out last week. I wasn't feeling well. Thanks to Eric. He took over and gave us a little snapshot of the Kenmore Ovation. We got that baby out of the box the other day, and I'm looking forward to using it. It's very unique. Just straight out of the box, I have a little bit feelings about it, but we'll see how it performs, right? So what's up? It's Wednesday, right? Today I want to talk about, a lot of people have asked me about my favorite cookbooks, and I'm going to cover some of those as we go along. Today I specifically want to cover one of my favorite cookbook authors. I came across this gentleman's work through a cooking class that I took at my local community college. So we were supposed to, our textbook was like the American Chef. It was a book like based on, you know, how to be a chef kind of book, along with our regular textbook. But in the back of each chapter, there was a list of references, and our assignment was to get a book from the references and write a paper on that. So I chose Richard Olney. And to be honest with you, my cooking and my feeling about food has never been the same since reading his work. So the book that I picked up, this is actually my second copy of it because this is the 40th anniversary of this book, is Richard Olney's Simple French Food. If you've never picked up a copy of this book, I suggest that you do that. Even if you don't cook out of it, there's so much information about food and about cooking and about living in this book that even beyond the recipes, there's so much that you can take from it to your cooking in general that will pretty much change how you cook and how you operate in the kitchen. Richard was a very interesting character. He, I believe, was born in Iowa, if I'm not mistaken. And at some point in his life, he went to France. And he bought this little tiny house in a village in the middle of nowhere. And basically moved in it, and people called him a hermit. He basically lived with no electricity, with no access to the outside world. He lived in this cabin on a hill. He ended up living there for, I think, 25 or 30 years. And in the process, he did some cooking and some gardening and some writing. But his writing changed a lot of famous cooks and just basically how the world sees food in a lot of ways. So one of the things is you see this title, Simple French Food, and your automatic reaction is, well, it's probably, you know, the simplest form of every recipe. And we all know French food, and it can be very complicated, multi-step, a lot of techniques to the recipe. But when he's talking about simple French food, he's not really talking about simple recipes. He was one of the first pioneers of the local fresh food movement. And there are people that went out to visit him in France in his house and to gain wisdom from him. People like Alice Waters, who we consider, from California, we consider her sort of the queen of the fresh local food movement. She was greatly influenced by Richard Olney. She went out and visited him at his house, and she also came away with his strange personality after she went and visited him. So pick up a copy of this book. I'll put a link down in the description. This book is amazing. It really is amazing. He talks about one of the dreary old cliches has it that one should eat to live and not live to eat. He calls that an imbecile concept, to eat to live and not live to eat. Because part of eating is the sensuousness and everything that gives to life in the eating and the cooking and the food. So the idea that we only eat to live is pretty ridiculous, right? This book is amazing. And what's great about the way Richard Olney thinks about food and thinks about recipes and cooking is the way I do. So I'm in the middle of developing a new website. And if you've watched any of my videos, you see that sometimes when I'm cooking, I tell you, I'm just putting stuff in the pot, right? I'm like seasoned to taste, depends how you like it. And it's frustrating for me because now I'm trying to go back and rebuild my recipes. And because I don't necessarily cook like, you put a tablespoon of this or a teaspoon of that, I'm more of a improvisational cook. It's difficult for me to write recipes because I don't cook that way. And so it has been a challenge for me. I wonder if I partially got that from Richard Olney because he has a chapter on improvisation, and he talks about bringing freedom, relaxation, and knowledge to your cooking, to not being afraid that failure is not a disgrace, right? One of the things it's hard to learn as a cook is to say, I do this all the time, and Eric can attest to this. I have days where I cook and nothing seems to come out right. And at the end of that day, I'm just like, I'm through. How many times have you heard me say that, Eric?
If Amy was more committed, you would not have seen any of these videos. She would have hung it up a long time ago.
I would have hung it up a long time ago because I screw up time and time again. And sometimes when I'm screwing up, my screw-ups go from one dish to the next. It's almost like when I have a bad day cooking in the kitchen, it's like bad all the way around. But failure is not a disgrace, right? It's more instructive than success. So you learn more with those dishes that you feel like you failed at or that you didn't do well at than you do when you have had a success. So everything you cook in the kitchen is practice. And you don't get there anywhere without practicing. So practice, right? If you want to learn to make bread, you can make bread just as much as anybody can make bread. You just have to practice, and you will fail, and you will fail, and you will fail. But keep at it, right?
My comments?
He's got something to say.
Hi, y'all. Like barbecuing and stuff, and I think general cooking too, people will get on these boards and say, what does it take to be a champion? How do I win? I'm like, you gotta practice. You gotta learn how your equipment works. You gotta learn what kind of flavors work, and you just gotta do it. So like what she's saying, food is practicing. You can't just, there's good recipes that might work, but you can't just expect say, oh, I'm the world's greatest cook just by reading this one recipe and trying it one time only. And if it doesn't work for you, oh my gosh, just kill me. No. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah, no, it's practice. Yeah. The more you do it, the better you will get. So start with one recipe and cook that recipe until you're really good at it. And even if it's simple, if you want to learn to make the best pancakes ever, which I'm still working on my recipe, I have not perfected my recipe, but make pancakes and make them frequently and change your recipe. Don't just keep making the same things, right?
If anyone's working at Pancake Circus in Sacramento, send us a PM, please.
We have our favorite pancake place. So, to be honest with you, I've only cooked a couple things out of this book, but this book has influenced me more, I think, than almost any other book that I have read. I've done a little bit of studying about Richard Olney, the author, and, I just find him amazing. So in this light, there's a series of books that came out, and I know some people are going to say, what? You think that this is one of the best series of books ever written? And my answer is yes. This is one of the best series of cookbooks ever written. And it was put out by Time Life, believe it or not. And it was edited by the one and only Richard Olney. So a couple months ago, I picked up this series. I think has 28, 26, something like that, volumes. I picked up off of Facebook Marketplace from somebody for a really inexpensive price, like $20. The whole set usually can go for like $150, $100 to $150. I think I'm missing a couple volumes, but I'm pretty close. So let me grab them. So what's so funny is this is still in the box that the person who I bought it from gave it to me, and it's a wine box. And at the very top it says, "A meal without wine is like a day without sunshine." Woohoo! So let's see how many I have in here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, I have 18 of them. I believe there's 26, I don't know, don't quote me on that. But this series was actually like a monthly subscription back in the day. I think it was like the late 70s through the 80s that this series was produced. And the series is called The Good Cook by Time Life. And this was actually edited by Richard Olney, believe it or not. Time Life got a superstar behind this series of books, and they're all on different subjects. So we have soups, salads, sandwiches and snacks, hors d'oeuvres. This is a serious set. Eggs and cheese, vegetables, poultry, pork, beef and veal, variety meats. What's variety meats? Fish, shellfish, preserving, candy. Woo!
Where's cheesecakes at?
Cheesecakes.
And peanut butter and...
Classic desserts. Cakes. Breads.
Ooh.
This is a beautiful set. And pasta. Wow. This set is amazing, and I'm missing a couple. But that's what's great about this kind of thing is we can go on the hunt, right? When I come across different ones that I'm missing. I can work overtime to finish my collection. And of course, I want to go straight to breads, right? The person that had this, basically, she said she really didn't use them. So they've been sitting here. According to the Hindu scriptures, everything is food, but bread is the great mother. Talks about the anatomy of wheat, the type of grain, and what they taste like, their characteristics, how to cultivate your yeast, cultivating wild yeast. This, oh my gosh, this is incredible. This just totally sounds like Richard Olney when I'm reading it. All that bread wants is time and warmth, goes an old English saying. Preparing yeast breads does, in fact, depend chiefly on these two factors. With time, gluten develops in the flour, forming elastic meshwork throughout the dough. With warmth, yeast produces carbon dioxide that inflates the gluten and lightens the dough. Still, though bread making is simple, it is an art with choices at every stage. Teaches you how to knead. This series is incredible. Pocket breads. I'm going to tell you, if you ever wanted to make a decision that you are going to truly and completely teach yourself how to cook, a series like this, going through these recipes in these, you will learn more from this series and from this book right here than you will from pretty much most everything. This is, I'm just in love with this set. I cannot wait to dig in, dive in, because I'm an absolute 100% fan of Richard Olney, even with his prickly personality, right? It's kind of strange that he isn't well known. Like, he is up there with the Julia Childs of the world. And it's amazing that in his lifetime, he wasn't recognized. But his work is still around for us home cooks and professional chefs. And there is so much this is only one book out of many that he wrote. But there is so much as a home cook that we can learn from his work. It's just incredible. And this right here is evidence of that. So we're going to be going through some of the books that I think are some of the best, some of the books that I really like for whatever reason. And I can tell you that Richard Olney's work and this set is up there on my list. So this is The Good Cook by Time Life. If you ever happen to come across any of these volumes, or you get lucky enough to find a whole set at a yard sale or online, or you know of a relative, or you have a set like this, crack it open, because this set will teach you how to cook. If you want to learn how to cook, like me, that's why I got this set. This set will teach you how to cook. So thanks for all the well wishes on the comments. I have been feeling better. I guess it's just slow getting better when you're not a spring chicken anymore, huh, Eric? Is that what he says? A lot of people are asking me about the Hobart. We are going to test the Hobart. With me being sick for the past week, plus my work schedule, I haven't been able to get to it, but trust me, I am going to get to that bad boy. So a while back, I did a video about saute pans. I'll put a link down in the description. And I talked about the difference between disc bottom pans and fully clad pans. There's one line of pan that only has a disc bottom, and it's absolutely incredible. And my answer is that whether you buy a disc bottom pan or a tripod pan, which is fully clad, really depends on the type of pan and whether or not you really need that. Because if you're just buying a stock pot that you're going to boil a bunch of water in and make pasta and steam stuff, you don't necessarily need a fully clad pan, because they're really expensive and you can get away with only a disc bottom pan. You just don't want one that's really super thin. So my answer to disc bottom versus fully clad on cookware, yes, fully clad is the best, but there are instances where a disc bottom is just as good or pretty much more appropriate just based on the price. So I'll put a link down in the description to that video. I did it some time ago, so it was at the beginning of my video making.
What Amy just said reminds me of a question that was asked of a viewer, and then in researching, I came across a bunch of bad Amazon reviews for a perfectly good cook pan, and I don't know if people are aware of stuff, so I'll keep this really short and simple. L'Augustina is a really pretty stainless steel pot and pan set.
Well, they have different quality lines.
They do have different quality lines, and there's a chance that this might have been the lower end line, but some of the people still acted like they had no concept of how to care for them. So if you use a stainless steel pan and it makes a bunch of marks in it, and some people say, hey, you got to use vinegar or something like that to keep it clean, we swear by Barkeeper's Friend, no, we're not making any money off this. We just use it because everybody else says use it and they're 100% right. And these blue, non-scratch, Teflon, whatever things, scrub things, they work wonders. So that's how to help keep them clean. And then the other thing had to deal with, I have to ask because I can't remember. What the hell? I was going to say something. Oh. Everything I cook sticks. I cook eggs, they stick. I cook hamburger, they stick. Well, stainless steel is wonderful, but I don't think it's capable of cooking everything, and I'm sure Amy might go more into her set of stock pots and sauté pans and other stuff. I mean, there's still a need for non-stick and stuff, or techniques, or cast iron that you can season, and then that helps with non-sticking. And then stock pots and stuff, stainless steel, they have their own purpose, right? Mm-hmm. Like cooking chili and stuff, right? Which Amy almost went there, but she didn't when she was talking about fully clad versus disc bottom and stuff.
Well, check out the video because I explain that pretty well. So what's up, cooks? It's Wednesday. I hope you're having a great week. If you're not in my Facebook group, go ahead on Facebook. Under groups, I'm at Amy Learns to Cook. It's facebook.com/groups/Amy Learns to Cook. That's where I'm at during the week, chatting with all the cooks in there about gadgets, food, recipes, all kinds of stuff. And we have a great time. Also, check me out on Twitter and Pinterest at Amy Learns to Cook, and also Instagram at Cookin' with Amy.